Welcome back, Young Heng Hot Rod Shop viewers. I have the rare opportunity to be here with the one and only Joe Brancato. And today we're going to talk about how to protect your air guns, your valuable PCP investments, against the scourge of dirty air. And by dirty, I mean wet, I mean junk in the tanks, I mean keeping those guns clean so they perform their best.
Welcome to the Young Heng Hot Rod Shop.
Joe, tell us about your filters and what they mean to the airgun world.
Well, thank you. First of all, it's good to see you.
Heck yeah.
Hey, good. Thanks for having me on your channel. Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Brancato. 30-second background. I was a physicist at McDonnell Douglas and Boeing. Did a lot of cool stuff there with Lightning and EMI, EMC, and systems integrations and stuff.
By the way, we are brothers.
Yes. Got out of that and then started the airgun business a number of years ago. You were in the aircraft industry, okay?
Yep.
If, let's just say, is 99.99% good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah? How about if you're going to land 99.9% of the times?
Probably not very good.
Right. And so that's where I always come from, okay? 99.99% isn't good enough for me, because if we have any kind of a air filter that I see out there, either ours or someone else's, if it's going to blow up 1 in 99.9 or 1 in 0.001%, that's too many times.
Right.
Okay? Because that will blow up eventually. One of the things that we designed our filters are, one, to work. Now, I know that seems awful stupid. You're like, well, they're all designed to work. No.
Some work better than others.
And some don't work at all, okay? And even being a physicist, I know my limitations, okay? I am not a guy who designs filters. So I went to a guy who designs filters for big companies like Bauer and all the other big names, okay? And I said, hey, buddy, design for me a filter. And he did. I said, well, tell me some of the things that I got to have in it. And I got my cheat sheet here because I don't always remember things. But I probably would remember 4 out of 5.
And to be fair, Joe and I have both escaped death recently.
What's that?
I had a stroke in 2019.
Yeah.
You had a coronary event.
A bypass. Yeah, hey, man.
So both of us are survivors. So yeah, we may not be as intact mentally these days, but we're still pretty sharp.
There you go. Okay, so for one thing that I was seeing out there that I was taught, and I always tell people how to copy our filters, not bash anyone else's that's not doing what we're doing. I tell you how to copy ours. First thing is, don't have the molecular sieve touch the aluminum. And the reason for that is, the molecular sieve, when it gets wet, touches the aluminum, it makes an acid.
So that combination of the moisture, the bead material, and the aluminum
makes an acid.
Aluminum oxide.
I'm not going to go there. Now you're not me. It'll weaken the vessel. Now I always thought, come on. Yeah, I know this is probably, we're probably being engineers. We're overly
sure, especially aircraft engineers.
Yeah, but I've been pushing this for years, and I've been saying make sure your aluminum doesn't touch your beads. And then recently I saw someone who had these types that weren't following my directions on how to copy us. Okay. And I saw his hand was all mangled. And I said, what happened to that guy? And they said, one of these let go. And then I kind of sucked in a breath and I went, wow, this is real. Like I've been preaching it. Yeah, I know it's like that 0.01%. Well, guess what? That 0.01% came up.
Yeah.
And this guy's hand is mangled now. And I don't know the other ones that have happened, but I know about that one because he's a high profile guy. And I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. So number one, you don't want the beads to touch the aluminum. Acid weakens the vessel. So we have 2 types of ways of preventing that. In this one, they're in, and I could show you that, they're in a plastic tubing and it's in a cartridge. So that's going to be the big difference between this one and that one. This one takes a cartridge. That one takes loose beads. There's positives and negatives to both, okay? Basically cost. Beads are cheap. Cartridges are easy, okay? So that's your molecular sieve. It's got a blue line there to tell you that when it's got to be replaced.
And just to point out really quick, this plastic tube doesn't see any pressure load.
No.
This is all equalized within the tube. So don't think that that's holding back pressure, because it's not. This is your pressure load.
Actually, since you're saying that, let's show them how it works. So this is a good example. Here, because if you put this here, it doesn't reach to the bottom. Why? Because this molecular sieve only carries 20%, can contain 20% of its weight. It doesn't weigh anything. It's very light, maybe an ounce or two or whatever. So 20% of that is not much moisture it could hold.
Right.
What we want to do is get the low-hanging fruit, and it's called the condensate tube. If you look at any of the compressors that we sell, they all have a tube like this in one spot and a tube like this in another spot. And the one tube is just an empty space for it to coalesce, okay? And that's what this empty space down here is for.
Right.
Ideally, you'd have two of these, okay? One empty, and one, but we're not going to sell you two of those. I mean, people don't want to spend that much money for one, let alone two, okay? So we kind of built it as a combo.
And with some clever design work too. I'd like to point that out.
Yeah.
There's more than meets the eye here. This is not your tuxing gold tube filter here.
There's a huge difference.
This is legit.
Yeah. So there's a space here for the condensation. We blow that out with a bleeder. So the first thing you need to know is, one, don't have this touch this. Two, this has to have an area for the water to coalesce. Three, you immediately need to get rid of the water.
So you need to vent that too.
If you don't vent that out, like say we just had that in there and you came back tomorrow and used this filter, that moisture would have been sucked up in here, because that's how aggressive this stuff is in catching moisture. It'll suck it out of the air.
Because my point was going to be, if you've got a small compressor, like the GX compressor, that this would actually be right about the right size for that size compressor. If you could leave pressure in this vessel,
you can. I'm not saying you can't.
You wouldn't have to fill that pressure up each time, so it would reduce this volume.
But see, some compressors don't start off well under pressure.
Right, but you've got a check valve on this guy, right? But your compressor's got its own vent. You can leave that open, start the compressor, and then close the vent.
Okay.
And then that
you
pressure,
could do that.
That pressure would go into that vessel.
Valid point.
The check valve.
Yeah.
And then what I'm saying is you're just not filling up this volume over and over again, which has been a complaint, honestly, since I said that the gold tube had good test results on a previous episode of the Young Heng Hot Rod Shop. And a lot of people were like, yeah, Bill, I got to tell you, it does work, but man, you got to fill that big ass gold tube every time.
Really?
And it only puts out 5 liters a minute.
Okay.
So it takes a little bit to get that. To get that airflow in there. So that's why I thought this was genius.
Okay.
Because you could keep that at least 2,500 PSI.
Sure.
Captured in there.
Yeah. Whatever you want.
And still be able to vent, but not vent completely.
Okay.
But I appreciate it on a bigger, more capable compressor where you're not waiting.
Right.
And it's more than 5 liters a minute.
Right.
That kind of flow rate, it's not a problem. But
all right. So both filters, or every filter, needs a place for the liquid to coalesce.
Yes.
Okay. So this has it here, and you have to vent it out. Because if you don't vent it out, the moisture will get sucked right up through the atmosphere, right into this. Now, remember we said this is stainless steel, and it doesn't touch the aluminum here either.
Right.
And then these are packaged tightly. That's another thing. You need to, that was the 5th point I couldn't remember because I have 4 points out of 5 written down. You want your beads packed very tightly.
Right.
You don't want to just shove them in a tube for a number of reasons. One, they'll touch the tube.
Right.
And number
you don't
2,
want that air sneaking
channeling through. I say it's channeling. So you want them packed very tightly, like either in this cartridge, it's pre-packed, or if you go for the bulk media, you got them, push them in here, and then you get them nice and tightly packed in this stainless steel tube. And then that stainless steel tube doesn't touch this aluminum.
By the way, I'll have an Amazon affiliate link to the media I use in my filters that you can pick up.
Good, yeah. Again, we want the molecular sieve not to touch the aluminum. We want the space for the condensation.
Got it.
We want to be able to bleed it.
Yep.
We just said this one that I couldn't remember. Oh, pack them tightly.
Yes.
So that it doesn't
meander.
What's the word I say? Yeah, channel.
Yep.
And then you want to keep this. Oh, another thing, you want to keep this vertical, okay? Because even ours, it would conceivably just leak into the filter, okay? So you don't want the water to once.
It's going to make the venting work much better.
Well, yeah. But if you're laying your filter down like this, I guarantee it's not working.
Right.
Okay, because that media will get wet, and this media can only hold vapors. Okay, it's not made to take the condensate out. This takes out the condensate.
Right,
okay,
right.
that's the bulk of it. This takes out the vapors.
Right.
Okay, and
so plumber's rule, folks. You know, stuff goes downhill. You want this to be vertical so that all of that moisture collects down here at the valve, and when you vent, you get rid of it.
Yeah. Exactly on that one. And then let's see. We have the bleeder, and then the last thing that we have on that you need to do, and that's why these tubes just don't work. That you see, they're just tubes. You need to. Okay, I always say air is like a sponge. When you squeeze a sponge, you can get the moisture out of it. When you squeeze the air is when you will get the moisture out of the air much more easily. So we will put those big plastic filters like you see on everything on the intake of a compressor and leave it alone. Okay? So why does Bauer charge $2,500 just for the filter? Because it has to go in the output at $4,500. Okay? Why? Because air is like a sponge. You squeeze it, the water will fall out. It'll precipitate down here. So that's why we put the PMV here, a pressure maintaining valve. That doesn't let the air even come out of here until it's at 2200 PSI. Same thing here. This piece right here is the pressure maintaining valve. If you hook this up to your compressor, and we put a gauge down here just to show you that it's working. If it's at 1800, it's still pressurizing. It's not coming out of here. Nothing comes out. But around 22, it'll start to come out. Right. And that's because then the filter's doing its job. If you didn't put this on, the air would just be going through it.
Right.
Okay, wouldn't do it.
Right.
Okay.
So those of us with manual compressors, don't answer your phone and talk to your girlfriend while you're filling your gun. Keep an eye on this stuff.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure everything happens the way it's. I've already showed our viewers with some actual analytical data on the output of some of these compressors, and it was quite alarming.
Well, the funny thing to me is people will say another misconception. Oh, well, I'm using a blankety blank compressor. It's slow, so it won't make moisture. Folks, this is what you're doing. It's simple as this. It's simple. I'm getting this room of air and I'm squeezing it into my gun.
Yep.
Doesn't matter whether I do it fast or I do it slow.
Correct.
There's so much moisture in the air and I'm compressing it. Yep. Slow and fast doesn't do anything. There's still that moisture in there. You just see it faster when you do it faster.
So one thing that I actually discovered going through this whole research project, which really this has become, is that coalescers actually have to have a specific velocity of air in order to work correctly. I tried a coalescer that's meant for a much larger, higher flow rate machine, and it would not perform the coalescing on a much smaller airflow rate.
Now, this coalescer, is it using coldness, or what was it using to actually condense?
It is got this like internal structure that redirects the air sometimes.
Yeah.
And the analogy I came away with, because I found a research paper. There's actually somebody did a research paper on this.
Somebody's interested in something.
It was so funny. And what I drew from that research paper was that the act of coalescing moisture and oil from air is very much like Joe's sponge. And when you take that sponge and you just kind of lob it at a wall, most of the water stays in the sponge. But if you take that sponge and you roll back and you really wallop it into that wall, a lot of that moisture gets pushed out of that air. And that's the role of velocity in coalescing.
Oh, okay.
And
I see your point now.
I was blown away that's why this coalescer didn't work. But, you know, it turns out it didn't work.
The flow rate wasn't there to really. It's using a little bit of a centrifugal type, kind of like that. The heavy stuff goes to the outside and all that, and then
you don't have enough flow.
Right.
It's almost like you're channeling.
Yeah.
It's just kind of taking a free ride there, and
right.
It's not
that
doing
makes
what
sense.
It's meant to do.
Okay, yeah.
So that came out of this whole research project from the Young Heng Hot Rod Shop. But I don't know anybody else, Joe, that makes filters of this quality or caliber in the world, let alone in America. And are these all American made, or
some parts come from all over? Okay, yeah, I will say that. Yeah, but we have everything checked. The gauges are American made. The fittings, this is all American. But the thing that we're concerned about is quality.
Right.
And we put our name on it. Like I said, I'm an engineer from aerospace.
Yep.
I don't do 99.99. And even though I thought I was just kind of preaching the dangers of the aluminum touching I never thought I'd see a fellow air gunner's hand mangled from it. I thought, I mean, it could happen.
Hey,
and I want to be that, because I don't want to get sued either. Hey, I'll tell you flat out, I'm going to play the safe card. Yeah, so both of these are very extremely high quality. They're never going to blow up. Don't be crazy and put 6,000 PSI when it's rated for 45. A part that you touched on that I'm glad you brought up when we had our earlier discussion.
Sure.
These are not for breathing. Get that through your head, folks. But you brought something up to me that I wasn't aware of. Because, see, I always said, who knows what they're using in these compressors?
Yep.
Some kind of oil of dubious quality or just whatever. And tell me, again, in front of them, what was that oil producing?
Carbon monoxide.
Okay.
I have actual test data from Trace Analytics, one of the most trusted names in compressed air testing, showing the output of a Yong Heng compressor with Type 46 ISO.
Which is the recommended oil.
Which is the oil they tell you to use.
Yeah.
I have it. I have the data that shows that was actually producing carbon monoxide.
And you explained it clearly to me.
Yes.
How did it produce that? It was burning.
Yes, it's combusting.
It's combusting.
It's a combustion event.
So there's a combustion event going inside so you're breathing combusted.
Yeah.
If that's a word, combusted. You're breathing.
Well, the oxygen level was lower too. And I'm like, where'd the oxygen?
Well, in the combustion. Yeah.
Carbon monoxide needs oxygen from somewhere.
So do not get the crazy idea of getting a Yong Heng and my filter or any filter and using it to pump up your breathing tanks.
Yes.
I don't care if you're using it on an air gun. Carbon monoxide, a little bit in there, not going to affect me.
No.
But if you're breathing it, you don't even know you're breathing CO. That's bad stuff, guys. So,
and you don't even need nitrous oxide in there, because if you've got a really good air gun, it's going to make you giggle anyway.
Yeah, no, that was really good, though. I was unaware of the combustion.
Yeah.
And when you brought that up, I thought, wow, that's a really good point to bring up about the combustion making carbon monoxide, which is deadly.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, dioxide's bad. Monoxide builds up.
Yeah.
And that's not good stuff at all. So, yeah, I wanted to reemphasize these are not for breathing air use. Okay? If you have a breathing air compressor, different story. But not even my Correttes or the Yong Hengs or the whatever. I just, no. Just simple as that, man. Just, I don't go there. It's just a simple no. Now, if you want, we could cut over and I'll show them what a large compressor's filters look like with a condensate and a thing.
Okay. Yong Heng Hot Rod Shop viewers, we have the perfect filter for your GX CS2.
Yeah,
Joe,
ideal size. That's an ideal size one.
Lay it on.
Obviously, we're joking, okay?
Yeah.
But this is the kind of filters that, we have produced for us.
Sure.
Okay, this is the quality.
But with this guy, you get all the quality that guy
got. Yeah.
And this one is darn near perfect.
Yeah, and you're not spending a couple of grand either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, $299 and $399 with the filtration system complete. Yeah, and hose.
And you might even have some coupon codes for our viewers.
We just might. Yeah, and we'll give you that coupon code below so that you know where to get that. Can you put that in there, edited?
I sure can.
Okay, good, because I haven't written it yet.
Yeah.
And we'll do that for you. Okay.
That'll be in the description and it'll be on the screen. So.
And you know what? We feel kind of generous, so let me go over here. And maybe we'll talk about this and a very, very special coupon code.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so as a thank you for telling everybody about how to be safe, because you know where we are at when it comes to safety. That's all we want is that. Yep. We tell people, we don't say, hey, they make it wrong. We say, this is how you can copy us, okay?
Right. Yep.
We're out there for safety. This is a tank that we want to offer to you guys now for allowing us to get our message out there. This is our guppy, okay? And it's 118 cubic inches, which is like roughly 20 cubic feet. You'll fill a gun up like 6 or 7 times, depending upon the gun, 13 times for Marauder or a gauntlet.
What is that in liters, Joe?
Let's see, hold on, I got to do the math. 550 is 9 liters, and 110 would be a fifth of that. So that's 1.8
Okay.
Yeah,
So
1.8.
almost 2 liters.
Almost 2 liters, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I had to do that. Okay, so this is our guppy, and made in America. Okay, of course. This is the full deal setup that we're going to offer you. It's normally, well, here, it's got the Weica gauge here, the second gauge here that tells you how much air is left in the tank, and then that's option 1, and then option 2A is this hose with quick disconnects at both ends, and a quick disconnect here, so you don't have to screw this on and off all the time. You can just click it on. And another nice thing is now you can get it filled at a paint store as well as a screw shop. So that's kind of nice. And then it comes with we call it the armor, which is a net here and a boot so it stands up. These are normally, when you price the whole thing out on our website, it's $496. $100 off.
Wow.
For you guys. It's going to be $396.
Thank you.
And that's, we sell out all day long at $496, but I wanted to really get these out there. But no, in honesty though, I would like to say thank you for allowing us. Now we'll take a look at some of the coalescers, as you call them. So as we were talking about earlier, you need to have a condensate tube, which the liquid falls out of suspension and just condenses like rain. Then it comes out the top, the moist air, but not wet air. It's just moist air vapor. And then that goes into this, which is the filtration device. So you never get water going into your filter. You don't want that.
Right.
Same thing's happening over here. Okay, look at this thing. This is a Bauer compressor. Look at the size of this filter, okay? But this has 3 places for moisture. And then you have to have something in there with a condensate drain to get the wet water out, the condensed water, before it even gets to the filter. And that's what we've tried to preach this whole video, is it's not that simple, or I would have designed one on my own and I knew my limitations. You need to use something right. It might be painful in the cost, but if you want to do it right, it's what you need. Do not go for anything that's got the aluminum touching the molecular sieve. Like I said, I actually know people who have mangled their hands, shockingly. So, and I don't wish that on anybody.
And Joe, all of us have been down the path of the PCP. I call it the story arc of the air gunner.
Yeah, start out with a hand pump.
We start out with the hand pump. We realize after 1 or 2 uses that it's not going to.
That's not for me.
It's not going to work out. So we end up investing in a compressor and then a tank and then a really expensive air gun. And the next thing, it's 2 air guns, 3 air guns. And now you're feeding a bunch of guns. Why not invest a little bit of money in a quality filter and know that you're doing the right thing for your air guns?
Well, you bring up a good point. I always call the air, I say the air tank, but you're a little more broad, and I agree with that. Your air supply.
Sure.
Is your central theme to your gun collection, because how many people own one air gun? Not me. Okay? You buy a gun, you'll buy another gun, you'll buy another gun, and you'll probably trade some off. Not me. I keep them.
I've seen them, Joe.
But the point I'm making is guns will come and go. Okay? But air supply doesn't. Okay? So buy a good air supply once and for all. Just get done with it. Get a good tank, a good filtration system. I'll let you pick out the compressor, but you got to have a good filter to fill that gun or that tank. And you'll never get rid of it. You might upgrade it, but I'll leave that to you guys on what kind of a compressor you want to use. But if you get a good tank and a good filter, you'll never have to upgrade it. Okay? And that's just what I was going to say. That's your central part of your air gun thing is you're always going to use that as your system.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all I got to say, folks. Thank you for coming by our store at Top Gun Airguns. But thanks a lot for coming by. And we're in Southern California, so if you're ever in the area, stop on by. Huntington Beach, California.
I will point out that Joe is within rock throw of at least one major airport, and not a long drive from the other one, about a 25-minute drive from LAX.
Yes, that's the long drive. And then there's Orange County, there's John Wayne, Orange County, Santa Ana. There's Long Beach, there's LAX, and then there's Ontario.
So super easy to get in and out of here. He's got a great, big, huge showroom. There's only one other big showroom that that is Young Heng Hot Rod Shop approved. Joe is on that list now.
Yeah. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for joining me, folks, in the Young Heng Hot Rod Shop. I had an amazing time.
with Joe and his entire staff. Here is his Willie's unbelievably cool truck. We got to do a whole lot of rag chewing at Top Gun Airguns, and I had a lovely, lovely time. Joe was a gracious host. We had lunch together. It was an amazing day. By all means, if you can get down to the shop, do it. If you can only visit them online, do that. These coupon deals are going to end soon, and I want to make sure that my viewers, my loyal viewers at the Young Heng Hot Rod Shop, get an ample time to utilize them. Remember, they expire August 31st of 2022, so be sure you get on the bus, folks. This is the only filter right now that I think actually addresses our needs as airgunners to keep quality air going into our really expensive PCP airguns. And once again, everybody, be a light in the darkness, and thanks for joining me here. Have an awesome, awesome week. Anyone who knows me very well knows I had to go to Roscoe's House of Chicken and Waffles before I left Southern California. Here's your codes. Enjoy.